this another NDC, yet last year the NDC had given the party leader the green light?
I think it's not true that we had an NDC to endorse Raila Odinga. First of all, I'm happy that we are back to Kasarani, because the last time we had a National Delegates Convention was on 28th of February 2014, and things proceeded so well until the tail end of it, when Kasarani became Kasarani. Today we come here in a celebratory mood, and the importance of this occasion is that as a party that follows its laws and rules very strictly, our constitution says our presidential candidate is not nominated until ratified by the National Delegates Convention. What happened on October 31st last year was National Governing Council that was held at the Bomas of Kenya, where Raila Odinga was proposed, seconded, and unanimously adopted as ODM presidential candidate. But that at that time did not bar anybody else interested in that position in ODM.
So in terms of the program, for how long are we going to be here now that that was the National Governing Council, this is the NGC, and who exactly are we expecting in terms of attendance?
We are expecting about 4,000 delegates. That comprises the entire National Executive Council, the parliamentary group, which brings together the National Assembly and the Senate, the Council of Governors and their deputies from ODM. We expect 2 persons with disability from each county, the entire national officials of ODM Youth League, the entire national officials of ODM Women League, then all members of county coordinating committees, that is 20 from each county. Then we expect all chairmen of branches, which is the 290 constituencies. Then we have delegates that are appointed based on the strength of membership in each branch. So the more you have, for example, Nairobi County has about 633,000 members of ODM. So you expect it to have more delegates than, say, Kirinyaga, where I think the membership is less than 2,000. So those are the people whom brought together. Also, we have the chairpersons of all our standing committees.
Do we have any international guests?
Yeah, we had made invitations, but until yesterday afternoon, we didn't have confirmation. So we may or may not have international guests. Yes.
I'm told we have to wind up for the world view, but I will be engaging you as we continue with the program. Of course, we have the news center and of course the live coverage. We'll be getting you more, but maybe a quick one. We know there are some members, elected leaders that have since ditched ODM to go as the independent, to go to other parties. Who will replace them, or do we have aspirants that have already been given certificates that will actually fill in the gap?
This forum is not for candidates or aspirants. It's about the people, even those who have gone independent. If they have not written to us to tell us they have left the party, they are still in their official positions. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. That's the ODM's Executive Director, Odor Ongwen, of course, clarifying for us why ODM is actually congregating here. In October, it was a National Governing Council that merely proposed. Today is the National Delegates Convention that now will ratify. Of course, there are other principles within NASA also expected. That is Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, Isaac Ruto, Moses Wetangula to come and stand in solidarity with their team leader, Raila Odinga. For now, Sophia, I think we'll leave it there. Then we'll be keeping tabs and giving you more updates, I think, on News Center in the next few minutes. Sophia, over to you.
Many thanks, Duncan Haemba, live for us there at the Kasarani Stadium. Of course, that is an event we'll be covering for you live here on KTN News. Before we wrap up the hour, let me bring in Abel Oyeyo, who's a researcher with the Center for African Progress, to just briefly talk about this NDC. Of course, Raila Odinga, it is not only for ODM as a party, but NASA as a coalition. What do you make of this candidature, fourth attempt at the presidency?
I don't think it's anything new. We've seen it before, the same script. Kenyans didn't expect, of course, a different presidential candidate other than Raila. It's a very strong candidate. It's the best NASA had. And of course, ODM is so excited as a party to be the party that is producing the presidential candidate for NASA. The unfortunate thing is, of course, Jubilee is going to be talking about having beaten Raila in 2013. It's the same person, so they're using the same tactics and strategies, of course, to beat him.
Yeah, but it's not the same, really, if you think about it, because you have last election, Mudavadi as an independent candidate getting about 500,000 votes. He's now part of this. And also, largely, of course, there are other presidential candidates, but they're not seen to have gravitas that would get, draw a lot of votes in as far as their run is concerned. So do you see the numbers tilting to the favor of NASA as it currently stands?
Well, when you talk about Musalia last time got around 400,000 votes. Mm-hmm. And if you add the votes Musalia got to the votes Raila got, it won't get to Uru's votes. Still, they fall short of around 200,000. Mm-hmm. But that is, again, beside the point. Someone like Isaac doesn't come with any kind of solid vote block from the Rift Valley. So it's going to be tough for them to match up to Jubilee. But it's good for the politics of the country, yeah.
All right, and you can see those pictures there. This, of course, from an earlier event, but we will be live in Kasarani later, as you've heard from our Duncan Haemba. He's there live for us, and it's a big day for the Orange Democratic Movement. It's pretty much ratification. The deal is done for the party now under the National Super Alliance, the man to beat, as some of those politicians are referring to Raila Odinga. So it's going to be quite a race. A rematch, it has been described in terms of football terminology being used in this political scenario. And Abel, as we bring this to a close, on one side, as much as it's been described as a rematch, going, to face the same people they faced in the last election. It's also the same people on the other side. So that argument, doesn't only work on one side, isn't it?
Yeah, it's of course on both sides. Jubilee, it's Ruto, and then Raila and Kalonzo. So it's going to be the same thing. That is why the deputy president was quick to say, we've beaten them before, so it's going to be easy to beat them again. I think that is why some guys argued that it could have been better for NASA to come up with a different presidential candidate and maybe keep Musyoka as the deputy. Some guys were talking about Musalia. Maybe that one could have, created some kind of excitement. Yeah.
It's argued that one of the key questions that defined the last election and perhaps gave Jubilee an edge was that there was an election question. There was the ICC hanging over them, and for their support base, it felt like rescuing their own, going to make sure, they get them into office and protect them. This time around, what do you see as the question or issue that will define this election?
I think it's going to be a referendum on the performance of the president and the deputy president. And that is where now NASA can get some kind of, a point of questioning the president and Ruto. What have you guys been able to do over a period of 5 years? So it is a referendum on Jubilee, the Jubilee government. And if NASA makes it a referendum on Uruto, I think NASA will have an upper hand. They'll bring up all the corruption cases, talk about performance, and of course you can expect Jubilee to talk about SGR and all the few things they've been able to, deliver over the period of 5 years. So it's upon Jubilee to talk about their success as a government, and also upon NASA to hammer their weaknesses.
Finally, what do both sides draw from the recently held political party primaries? Because we've seen some huge fallouts. We've also seen some people fall along the wayside that were unexpected. Do you think there's anything to draw from that? Is that a shifting electorate that's not afraid to take risks, that's not afraid to move on?
Well, the biggest lesson is to prepare and make sure they allow democratic processes to, to follow the right channel instead of, the big man syndrome where you have to call maybe the party leader to be given a certificate or something like that. So they have to prepare in advance and avoid mistakes. Most of the mistakes that occurred in Jubilee were due to lack of preparation.
Okay.
I remember Tuju talking about 50%. If you have 50% materials, then you're good to go. That is a very low bar.
Okay.
So they have to prepare in advance and, then they can be successful.
All right. Many thanks, Abel Oye. You're a researcher with the Center for African Progress. Much appreciated your time with us here on Worldview. And on behalf of the team,